Right, this video will take care of numbers 16 through 30, and you should also use this to study for the test that is upcoming. Right, for number 16, you are given the algebraic expression that you see on the board, and then you will need to identify the terms, like terms, coefficients, and constants. And the idea behind all of this is knowing your vocabulary. If you know what these words mean, you can pick them out pretty easily. Terms are all of your items that are separated by a plus or minus sign. So for this problem, 6x squared is a term, negative 3x is a term, positive 1 is a term, negative 5x squared is a term, and positive 2 is a term. Now that you've identified your terms, go and pick out the like terms. Right? And in this one, we have two groups of like terms. 6x squared is a like term with negative 5x squared because they both have x squareds. That's one group. Then if you look at your terms, the 1 and the 2 are also like each other because they're just regular numbers with no variable. So there's two separate groups, and you have to have all of them in order to get the item right. Coefficients are your numbers sitting in front of variables, so find all your letters, and the number directly in front of them are your coefficients. So 6 is a coefficient, negative 3, and negative 5. Okay. Your constants are the numbers with no variables at all. So in our case, this would be the numbers 1 and 2. To simplify each root, you're going to use your calculator to assist you with your square root and your cube root functions. In number 17, the quickest way to do this is separate it into the square root of 144 over the square root of 16, since both of those are already perfect squares. The square root of 144 is 12, the square root of 16 is 4, and now you can simplify it in a much easier way. 12 divided by 4 produces the answer of 3. On the cube root side, both of these are also perfect cubes, so your answer should come out to be whole numbers. And separate them once again, so you have the cube root of 64 versus the cube root of 27. The cube root of 64 is going to give you 4, and the cube root of 27 is going to give you 3. Now, because 4 does not divide into 3 or 3 divide into 4, that is not going to make a whole number. You're going to leave that as a fraction. Do not give me a decimal answer, but actually leave it as a simplified fraction. For 19 and 20, you're to estimate each one to the nearest whole number, which means you will get decimals, but you will have to round off those decimals to the closest whole number that you can get. After seeing the square root of 73, and it produces 8.544 ... because it keeps going, right? You only have to look right behind the decimal. Okay, that 5 is 5 or higher, so that means it's going to bump the 8 up. So the square root of 73 is closest to the number 9. That's the nearest whole number. Right? For the cube root of 109, you're going to come out with 4.77 ... And again, just look at the first 7. The 7 is going to bump that 4 up to a 5. So the cube root of 109 is closest to the whole number 5. Right, when we get to the next section, this is the section I warned you guys about in class that's either going to make you or break you. So hopefully you were paying attention to everything that we did. Right? This is your distributing and your combining like terms section. For number 21, you're going to distribute the 5 to everybody. 5 times 4x is 20x, and 5 times positive 3 is plus 15. Right? That's all there is to that one. Go over to number 22. You're going to take half of each number. Half is one of the easiest fractions to work with. 1/2 of 8x is going to give you 4x. 1/2 of negative 6 is going to give you negative 3. And it's already in the correct order. When you go to number 23, you're distributing negative 3. So negative 3 times 4x is negative 12x. Remember, this is a negative 7. So negative 3 times negative 7 produces a positive 21. For 24, you are distributing this negative 2 right here. If you cover up the 9, you can see that it's a negative 2. Right? We're going to give that negative 2 to everybody in parentheses. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. This is a negative 4. So negative 2 times negative 4 is a positive 8. And bring down the 9. Now you want to combine like terms, but remember that in your final answer, the variable term has to go first. So the answer is going to be negative 2x because nobody goes with him. But then you have a positive 9 and a positive 8. Put those two together and you end up with positive 17 as your constant. For number 25, I see parentheses, but I don't see a number there, which means there's a negative 1 that's invisible that you have to distribute. Negative 1 times x is going to give you negative x. Negative 1 times positive 9 makes negative 9. Bring down the 11x in the front. Combine your variables first. 11x take away 1x is going to leave you with 10x. And nobody goes with -9, so the answer has -9 in the back. For number 26, distribute your 3. 3 times 5x is going to give you 15x. 3 times -1 is -3. Bring down the +7. There's nobody to go with the 15x, so he's the first thing in your answer. And then you've got -3 plus 7, which produces a +4 for the remainder of your answer. For number 27, once again, distribute first and then combine. 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times +1 is +2. Bring down +4x. Combine your variables first. 6x plus 4x is going to give you 10x. Nobody goes with the +2, so +2 is the constant in your answer. Right, for the last 3 problems, you are going to have to translate the verbal expression into an algebraic expression. Remember that there are multiple ways to do some of these, right? So if your way doesn't exactly match mine, that doesn't mean you're completely wrong. You might want to double check with me to see before you move on. Number 28, the amount of money you spent if you started with $40 and now have D dollars, right, is when you take your $40, you're going to subtract what you now have, and that's going to tell you how much you started with. Okay. For 29, 8 less than a number y divided by 3. Be careful of this phrase less than, because that's the one that usually catches people. Right? Yes, it means minus, but the word or the number in front of the minus sign is really going to go behind it. Right? So we have the letter y. In order for 8 to be less than that, it's got to go behind the minus sign. Okay? And then all of that is divided by 3. So please use those division bars rather than the old elementary division signs. And for number 30, a bag of candy has 230 pieces in it, and you wish to share it among your friends. Sharing things means you're dividing it up. So you're going to take that 230 pieces of candy, and you're going to divide them among your F amount of friends. Right? So it would look like that. Okay, so hopefully you were able to use this to study and prepare for Friday's test, and I wish you luck on the test.